Welcome, llama lovers. I'm Tommy Llama. In this video, we're going to do a deep dive into one piece of the Grow Yourself part of the superpower system. And that one piece is how you hold your values. Now, if you found yourself here, that means you've done the Know Yourself section. Hooray! That means you know your top 5 values, your top 5 strengths, your 3 social currencies, and your superpower, that one thing that makes you uniquely you. In this video, we're now going to look at how do we begin to grow into more fully those things that we discovered about ourselves. And when we talk about how do I hold my top 5 values, we're not talking about putting them in a basket and carrying them alongside you. We're talking about how do you live those values in each moment when you interact with others and with yourself. And when we talk about this, when I first started doing values work, I talked about the light side and the dark side, and that never really sat very well with me. I also talked about the positive side and the negative side, and actually there's a lot of benefit to the negative sometimes, so I didn't really want to talk about it that way either. I then discovered a book by a football coach where he wrote about teaching his football players on how to act above the line. So as I do with most things, when I find something I like to read, I want to see who influenced that person and try to go back up the trail, so to speak, to find where it all started. And when I discovered what I discovered when I started looking into above the line behavior is a book written by Michael Henderson called Above the Line: How to Create a Company Culture That Engages Employees, Delights Customers, and Delivers Results. What a great title. In this book, Michael Henderson starts talking about the fact that behavior comes in 2 flavors, either above the line or below the line. I have a little graphic right here. Don't know that you'll see it very well, but there's above the line and below the line. And what we're talking about is how do you engage your values in a way that's above the line? Because above the line is life-giving behavior. Below the line is life-taking behavior. And we all want to use our values in a way that gives life. And so when you're talking about how do I hold those values, it's about, am I using those values above the line in a way that gives life to self and others? Or am I using those values below the line that takes life from others and from me? I'll give you a couple of examples from the book Above the Line on what is above the line behavior. Giving, sense of humor, belonging, attention turned out, confident in self and others so you can allocate attention to the world around you instead of simply focusing on yourself. Mature, adaptive, thought-leading, willing, optimistic. And then let's talk about what he describes as some of the below-the-line behaviors. When you act in ways that aren't aligned with your superpower. When you behave in fearful and angry ways. Taking credit for something that you didn't do or you shouldn't take credit for. Draining. Your presence is draining, tiring, or exhausting on others. Or feeling empty of energy, of meaning, of fun, of joy, hope, and purpose. Feeling lost. And I love this one. Above the line is sense of humor. Below the line is sense of rumor. Wow, what a great thought. And that's lost sense of perspective and blowing things out of proportion. Attention turned in, behaving childishly, and reactively. Blame storms. Woo, who hasn't been caught in one of those? Try to avoid those. I'm not interested in a blame storm. Being pessimistic. Those are below the line behaviors. And so what does that look like? I'll give you an example. And I think I talk about this in the book, What's Your Superpower, as well. I am driven by effectiveness. It might have me more than I have it. And one afternoon we were driving to get ice cream. My husband was driving. Shep and Warren, our 2 sons, were in the car with us. And we're driving along, and my husband, instead of turning left to get to the ice cream store the fastest way possible, went straight. And I said, "Hey, where are you going?" And Warren and Shep said, "Mom, what does it matter? We're going to get ice cream. We're not in a hurry." Oh, so for 2 days, I thought about how my effectiveness might be driving things that don't matter or hurting other people's feelings and or not honoring their processes. My husband Jim likes to take the scenic route. I like to take the fastest route. And I don't know for how many years going the fastest route drove the two of us, even when he was driving. And I really had this, oh my goodness, what have I done allowing effectiveness to drive me in below the line ways? And another example is for people who are helpers or caregivers, we tend to take care of everybody else first before we take care of ourselves. And then we find ourselves depleted and without energy. That's absolutely below the line behavior. So as you look at your top 5 values, make a chart and write out examples of how you use it above the line, how you use it below the line. Another example from the book is wisdom. I value wisdom, but that turned into me being a real smart blankety blank. In fact, there's a book about it called Multipliers. I was actually a diminisher with my wisdom instead of a multiplier. And once I realized that, I tried to always engage in the above the line behavior for wisdom and being a multiplier and not a diminisher. All right, so that's how you hold your values. If you have questions, you know where to find us. We're always happy to help you grow into yourself because the world's waiting for you and your superpower.